All right, so for this rift, I'm using 3-piece Innas and 3-piece Ashiras, and then a Ring of Royal Grandeur. The challenge, I guess, that this is done for was to use Inna's set and not use Sun Wuko's or Raiment. So um, this is not at all efficient spec, but without Raiment and Sun Wuko's, also you can't use pylons. Without Raymond and Sun Wuko's, you just got to do the best you can. So I'm using a Pull Palm Pillar Lightning build. I'm using Thunder Fury and Odin Sun plus Lightning Pillar, which has a pretty good proc coefficient. I'm pulling things in. I have Strong Arm Bracer so that when I pull stuff in, it takes more damage. And then I'm using Exploding Palm with Strong Spirit. I'm actually using maxed Paragon points into maximum spirit, and I'm also using Exalted Soul. So I have, and then I think my helm. No, that can't be true. Nope. Yeah, so I have 300 max spirit, and the reason for that, even though I'm not using Reaper Wraps, which is the normal reason to use higher max spirit, is so that my Exploding Palms, because Strong Spirit gives 10 spirit per monster hit when it explodes, and it can give so much spirit at once that it's actually it overflows your spirit. So I'm using a bunch of max spirit stuff so that I get the most out of Strong Spirit. So you'll see me skip some elites. There was no part of the contest that said that I had to kill all the elites. I just had to complete the rift, so things that would take too long I just skip. Obviously that's not how I would normally play, but also I would normally never ever play this terrible spec. It feels really awful to play a spec like this. I mean, monks are already really bad, but like having to self gimp by not using anything powerful is pretty brutal. Um, yeah, so I'm also using Countess Julio's amulet because part of the challenge is that you can't switch any items or skills until the Rift Guardian. So without being able to amulet swap, I think Countess Julio's is the best immunity amulet. Plus my Countess Julio's is actually pretty good. It's 8 CDR, 10 crit, average damage stacks, so it's a fairly good Countess. But being completely immune to lasers and jailer is just really great. It makes a lot of elite fights a lot easier. It actually makes stacking elites a lot easier. The one thing that I would have actually done if I could. So Ashira's set is basically useless. I'm using it because I don't have a Kane's set, and while the followers are procced from Ashira's, I have a Unity on one of them. I'm using 2x Unity, so my Templar has Unity and I have Unity. And then one of my other followers has Unity, so when it procs, I actually become even more invincible. It splits damage 3 ways. If I had a 4th Unity, it would split damage 4 ways, and I'd be even more invincible. But that's fine. So it helps, I guess, tank a little bit when all 3 of them are up. Plus, my Enchantress has the staff that charms people, and then my Scoundrel has Legacy Bariza for freezing stuff. So yeah, so I have a lot of freezing and CC and stuff. So that sort of helps, I guess. It's not really that big of a deal. Yeah, I think I have about 50% CDR with this spec. It's really awful. Playing with under 60% CDR is just a really terrible feeling. Epiphany feels like it's never up, basically. Um, but, you know, it sort of works. I'm using Fists of Fury, which is just a telltale sign that this class is super broken. So I'm using a lightning build, and the best generator is a holy generator, and only because it procs the 2 weapons that I'm using more. So like my generator does so little damage that it doesn't matter that it's an off element when there's an on element version that's quite good. It's still completely worse. Rather use Fists of Fury. Plus, if you use Fists of Fury, then you don't have to switch generators for the Rift Guardian, because basically anything other than Fist of Fury procs furnace way too slowly. So let's see. Yeah, so here's probably a pretty good example of when those EPs explode. Basically, my I gain like 500 or 600 spirit, um, and so having a bunch of max spirit is really helpful. Again, skipping a elite um, because it's just not efficient. I think I might actually kill them later. I don't really remember. Part of the cool thing that I learned during this set of runs, this is probably my, I don't know, 7th or 8th of these, trying to iterate the build and figure one that works, is that if you never kill elites, you end up killing a whole lot of elites by just dragging them. So on keeps, obviously it's not going to happen because keeps is a pretty enclosed area and there's lots of tight corners and doorways and stuff, so it's really hard for elites to follow you. But if you're in like a open area or even a semi-open area, elites will follow you for a really long time, and you can actually drag elites through trash mobs like over and over and over again. And I actually ended up in a lot of these runs where I was just sort of trying to skip elites, killing most of the elites because um, because they just all followed me through a bunch of exploding bombs. So I would just keep EPing trash over and over and over again, and then eventually the elites would die. So there's those elites. I think I do end up skipping them. Looks like I do. I don't see how they're gonna follow me far enough for me to kill them. I actually get pretty unlucky with the Rift Guardian on this run. So if I had gotten luckier with the Rift Guardian and he had spawned in a place where he's sort of isolated. So this is Countess Julios right here, like doing work, super prime. Those arcane beams would have made my life really terrible. I think the part of the reason that Countess Julios is so good is that so this is 3 elite packs at once, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's nice that the spec can do that. The only reason, of course, that I'm able to do 3 elite packs at once is because Countess not only makes you immune to the arcane, but because arcane does so much damage, it sort of makes you immune to everything else while arcane is on. Yeah. So pretty cool. But yeah, it's just basically it's really, really hard to mitigate the damage from arcane lasers, whereas it's actually fairly easy to mitigate the damage from a lot of other affixes. Arcane, when you fights like that, gets spammed so much that it's like impossible to avoid them and actually effectively do damage. So if I didn't get elite pack add here, which you'll see, I think they come from below. There they are. If that didn't happen, I would have killed this guy super, super fast, and it would have been awesome. However, I did, and it sucks. This rift or the rift's credit, I did fail my my EPs pretty hard, as you will see. If I had gotten off the EPs correctly, then I think I would have been able to kill the Rift Guardian a bit faster. But you'll see that I think none of these EPs actually hit the Rift Guardian. So they're all too far away right here. Yeah. So that may have been enough to kill him. I don't actually know. So part of the key with Furnace, if you don't know how it works, is that it has an internal cooldown. The proc does. And so if you have a bunch of mobs and you're hitting them in AoE, it will proc on the little mobs, and then it won't be able to proc on the Rift Guardian. So anytime there's more than just the Rift Guardian, it's really inefficient to try and use Furnace. Yeah, so this is the basic strat. Get him down with Furnace, spam pillars. Odin's Sun does a lot of damage for single targets. And when I say a lot of damage, I mean not that much damage. Like if you look at this guy is at 100 million life. My Raiment proc hits for 100 million damage. I could have just one-shot him from there. Instead, I had to run around and hit him. Just ridiculous. Anyway, it's 9.5 minutes, so it's the first and only under 10 that I managed, and